Hi everybody, it's Debbie with the Sensible Nutrition Program up in Park County. Today what we're going to talk about is making our recipes just a little bit healthier. So there's simple changes that we can do. It doesn't take a whole lot, we just have to maybe put a little bit of thought into it. So as you can see, I have quite a variety of cookbooks here, which I truly love each and every one of them. But some of them are not going to have some real healthy recipes in them. So there's things that we can do to make those recipes just a little bit healthier. I have in one of the cookbooks, it's one of those old church cookbooks that has the women's group. They all get together and they put in their favorite recipes and then they make it into a cookbook and then you can purchase it from the churches. Those are some of my favorite cookbooks. But you know what? Those are the cookbooks that we're going to find that call for fat, possibly lard, heavy whipping cream. Those things make that recipe really good and yummy, but the other thing that they do is probably not such good things for us. So in those cases, what we can do is we can change the butter up with a margarine. We can, instead of using sour cream, we can definitely go to a Greek yogurt. Plain Greek yogurt is a good replacement for a beef stroganoff recipe that I have. I change, instead of the sour cream, I use plain Greek yogurt, which works perfectly in that situation. You, instead of using regular noodles, use whole wheat noodles. So that changes it up and makes it just that much more healthy. You have that with a nice side salad and, dinner's done. So some of the other things that we can do in place of, the things that we want to watch are the sodium and the salt and the fat in recipes, and those are things that we can change fairly easily. Maybe the recipe calls for 1 teaspoon of salt. Well, instead of that full teaspoon of salt, maybe cut it back to a half, maybe even a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Salt is a flavor enhancer, so maybe we want to add a few herbs or some other spice to take the place of the salt to add some more flavor to that recipe. One of the other things is sugar. A lot of recipes you can cut the sugar down, and maybe depending on the recipe, instead of using granulated sugar, you could use honey. Let's say you're doing a stir fry or something and the recipe calls, and it's a sweet and sour sauce, and that sauce calls for some sugar. Instead of using the sugar, use honey. That's a really good way to change that recipe up again. You still get the sweetness from the honey and that sweetness of the sugar, but you're not getting honey is just a little bit healthier for us than having that sugar in our diet. So there's some recipes that we don't want to mess with. If you're making a candy or something like that, definitely don't change up the sugar or any of those type of things in that recipe, because then it's not candy anymore. Most of us don't make candy on a weekly, monthly basis. The only time I make some candy is around Christmas time. And I definitely don't mess with those recipes. If my recipe, I have a caramel recipe and it calls for heavy cream and butter, and that's what I put in it. Because we only have it at Christmas time. It's not something that I make all the time. And most of the time I give half of the pan of caramels away, because otherwise my husband would eat the whole thing. And he definitely doesn't need all that extra. So those are just a few tips of changing up recipes a little bit. Watch the salt, watch the sugar, watch the fats in your recipe. Is there some way that you can change those up a little bit and maybe make that recipe just a little bit healthier? Those are just a couple tips. If you have some more questions, please feel free to get a hold of us at the Sensible Nutrition Program in your county or at the state office, and we'll help you out with whatever question you have.